that way after.
I'm literally talking for 1 minute and then handing it to him. Who's the actual?
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
How should I put it? So
He's like,
I grew up with gotta go to work.
I don't think it's the right way to approach it.
Very true. Oh yeah.
All right, mic check. Good enough. Hey, folks.
Hey.
Come on in, grab a seat. I want to say welcome to everybody, but especially the one person who got a salad from the back of the room.
That was 2.
2? Excellent. All right. I'm just really pleased. Hi, my name's Jonathan. Welcome to the Chicago LangChain meetup. Inaugural for this one in Chicago. It's been in other cities. But yeah, you're here. Pioneers. I'm going to go through a couple of things. Welcome and intros. Cool. Everybody grabs pizza. And then Emilio is going to talk to us about evals and eval topics.
On my wave.
It's a good one.
And that's it. It's not a whole lot of talking. So we're going to get through some stuff and then y'all can hang out after too. Cool. Sponsor shout out. We're focused. We build agents. We're a professional services company. We work with LangChain a lot. And we have been working with LangChain and LangSmith, which is their platform that you're going to hear a little bit more about for a while. Good stuff. Happy to answer questions about any of that. There's some other things. There's a LangChain community Slack. You could hang out. It's free. Join. Get Slack messages. I believe if you point a camera at that, which I'll give you a couple seconds to do, that will put you in Slack. All right. Upcoming events. There's a calendar, lumen.com/LangChain. We'll get you on the next version of this, which is not yet announced, but they're monthly. Also, there's a conference coming up called Interrupt in San Francisco. Some of us are going to be there. And if you want to go, move fast because tickets are on sale. It's fun. Also, big community update. The LangChain logo dropped yesterday. It's a smaller, more abstract parrot, but we're very excited for it. All right, here's the actual presentation. It's Emilio. He's an engineer with the Focus office in Denver, and he's visiting us for the week, so we're going to give a talk. Come on up.
all right. You don't have to clap though, it's okay.
You
All right,
have to
just a
clap
sec.
a lot.
All right, cool. A lot of mics.
Just a quick update.
Yeah, so we are streaming this, which is why we have so many mics, and also we'd like to be heard in the room, so there's a second mic. So it's all good.
I think we're shooting for these to be quarterly, unless I'm mistaken.
Quarterly, not monthly.
Yeah.
That would explain why I haven't scheduled yet. All right. Anyway, lumen.com/LangChain. Welcome.
All right, cool. So this is me. Today we're talking about detecting errors early with LangSmith. Also, excuse the mic situation here. I feel like I have a lot going on right here. It's like I'll try to hide them a little bit. Specifically, we're going to be learning lessons from the LangRench CVE. And don't worry, I'll explain what that is in a second. So to actually talk about LangSmith, I wanted to create a problem that we could detect in LangSmith. And I was looking around. I work a lot in LangGraph, and I was interested in this one I found called LangRench. What LangRench is Jordan Poret published a CVE around December 4th. LangChain actually fixed this very quickly. I think we got a fix in 19 days or something. So once the CVE was published in December 23rd, 24th, somewhere around there, right before Christmas, which the name kind of goes with Christmas, you can tell why it's nicknamed that way. Once it was actually published, I forget where I was going now, but the migration path is super easy to actually make the fix. All you have to do is upgrade versions and super simple. So yeah, props to LangChain for actually fixing that rather quickly. But LangRench, this is a bug that allowed secrets to be extracted from an environment, from an actual like production app. So actually a rather significant issue within LangGraph. But let's talk about definitions first. What is LangChain? Are people familiar with LangChain here? Is everyone pretty up to date on what it is? I get like a hand raise if you're like aware of it, working with it. All right, cool. See a lot of hand raises, but some did not. So LangChain is a framework that helps you build applications that work with LLMs. And then LangGraph is built on top of LangChain. It's a library that helps you build AI agents. And they are stateful, complex. What you can build in LangGraph is really, really cool. So if you are interested in any of that, look into it a little bit more. And we are actually going to be diving into an app today. So I'll show off a little bit of code in there. And yeah, we can talk about what it looks like and what you can build. That'll be fun. And then LangSmith is LangChain's observability tool. That is where we're going to see like traces and dive into a bunch of the features in there and detect errors early. All right. And then again, props to Yard and Porat for actually publishing that CVE and doing it the appropriate way. So I don't know if you guys know the CVE process. Well, I forget what website was actually used by Yarden, but they'll reach out to LangChain and actually tell them, hey, I have found an issue, I believe. Here's how you execute it. Here's how you replicate it. And then until LangChain actually confirms or the company confirms that there is an issue and we have a fix for it, they kind of wait and bundle the fix along with CVE publication. So once that was all ready on December 23rd, that was published. All right, cool. So to understand LangWrench, we have to talk about what's going on inside of LangChain. And this issue actually happened in LangChain core. So that's kind of where we're going to be focusing on. There is a distinction between user dictionaries and LangChain internal dictionaries when it comes to LangChain core. User dictionaries are just like any object that can be stored and serialized later. LangChain internal dictionaries had this little property called LC. And LC kind of said, hey, this is internal, this is safe to use, fully trusted, it's fine. And that's actually kind of where the issue arose from. If you can imagine, if you had a user dictionary that had that LC key in it, and it was appropriately marked as an internal dictionary, and we unsafely serialize and deserialize it later, it could be possible to tell LangChain to do something internally, but with a user-built dictionary. So keep thinking about that one a little bit more, but LangChain core comes with a serializer and deserializer built in. There's actually like two relevant issues here. In the deserializer, we were not escaping payloads that a user sent in. And that is where like you could reconstruct an internal dictionary that LangChain would expect. And potentially, whenever the deserializer runs, expose that payload. And if it looks like an internal object, LangChain core would try to instantiate the object. And with that, there is a way, or there was a way, for secrets or environment variables to be pulled out and upon that object instantiation, just handed back to whatever is requesting that dictionary. Okay, so if you hear me talking about dumps, load, and loads, that is what I'm talking about, serializing, deserializing. Any questions there? I'll take a pause for a second. All right, cool. Then just remember LC. We're going to be talking about that a lot more. Again, it is that key on the dictionary to mark internal dictionaries. And it literally, I think, stands for LangChain. We'll get confirmation from a LangChain person, though. I'm actually curious. What's the LC property?
Sure, it stands for LangChain.
Okay, cool. I just figured it did, but wasn't sure. All right, so let's talk about the fix really quick. In the serializer, we actually see this new method show up, serialized value. And what that actually does is it escapes the object really nicely, where even if you send in a dangerous payload, something that's poisoned, it doesn't matter. It's going to be escaped. It's going to be a string. When we deserialize, it won't get instantiated. And also, there was a lot of hardening done inside of the deserializer. And if you take a look in there, we no longer just assume that an LC key is safe to use. And we don't just default the extraction of environment variables. So that literally was, I don't know if you can tell right here at the bottom, there was a parameter on the deserializer called secrets from environment. that was set to true as a default before. So that is a way that we were extracting secrets. But now it's set to false, so you cannot do that by default. So that's cool. All right, so I have built a little application to replicate the issue. But before we dive in, let's talk about what this is and what ClauseBot is and what it is not. So ClauseBot is this simple graph, and this is actually taken from LangGraph Studio. So LangGraph Studio helps you build with LangGraph. I made a little graph, which you can see right here. ClauseBot generates legal contracts and helps you add clauses to the legal contracts. So what you see here is when you begin the flow, we generate a draft of your contract on whatever topic you give it. And then we review, we hit a human in the loop step where we interrupt and say, is there anything that needs to happen here? User review. We send in back feedback where we say, I would like to add this clause to the contract. So cool, we hit review again and we keep looping back and forth until you are done and we hit end. Okay, cool. And that is what that looks like. Again, I took the screenshot from LangGraph Studio. I thought it was pretty cool. On the interrupt, or actually once we continue from the interrupt, that is actually where I am explicitly calling out to load, which if you remember, that's the deserializer. I'm kind of simulating what is happening internally in LangChain here, just to make it easy to reproduce the issue, but also not expose the real way to replicate this issue in production. There could still be companies that have not migrated yet, so we want to give them a little bit of time. But I will talk about what the replication is. So there was a method called aStream, and aStream is a way to stream information like chunks back to your app from your LangGraph app. In aStream version 1, we actually did use this serializer and deserializer path. So if you were able to make the LLM communicate a payload into the deserializer, you could ask it to like generate a specific payload that looked like an internal dictionary inside of LangChain. And the next time it loaded up the deserializer and actually extracted that payload back out, it would just spit out the secrets, like whatever you asked for. That is more complicated. We are not going to dive into that path today, but we will replicate the issue. So I'm going to hop back out of here and let's start diving into code. All right, so here is my Python app, and hold on, let me make sure I don't have changes. We are running. Cool. All right, so here's ClauseBot. Let me refresh. Can you guys see that okay? All right, awesome. So I have here a contract topic called attendee agreements. These are your agreements. We are going to make a legal contract right now. So I'm just going to hit generate. And just know that in the background, my app does use OpenAI. So I have an OpenAI API key. We are not going to expose that key. I'm not going to share my key. I hope you understand why. I am paying for this still, which I should really get a focused API key and not pay for this myself, even though it's like a couple cents. You know? That being said, we are at the whim of OpenAI right now. And even though this is a tiny model, we are taking a minute. But cool, we got a response back. Now, before we look at the contract, what you guys are agreeing to, let's look at the response. And here, I'll peek at the payload. It's very simple. We're just sending in a topic. So in the response, we do see the contract. Don't have to read it there. We see clauses. That's an empty array right now. Something interesting, as an attacker, what I would be looking for is, hold on, let me, oh, wow. Okay. I'd be looking for things like this, like an agent state, something that reveals the internal structure of how things are working in the app. So this payload would be very interesting to dig through. And as an attacker, what I would try to do is replicate this curl, so like copy scurl, and then just try to play with that payload to see if I can inject some sort of dictionary in there, maybe like a LangChain internal dictionary. All right, so let's look through this contract real quick. Looks pretty standard. It just made up a bunch of stuff, which I love, but it looks like a real contract. Awesome. Let's add in a clause real quick. Attendees must drink water. All right, and we see that we are resuming. That kind of tells me that there's an interrupt here, and on interrupts, like there could be interesting behavior, like maybe someone is trying to load something, and maybe like this could be a good attack vector. Okay, cool. And I do see here agent state. I see a bunch of messages being added. So again, this gives me information about what's going on in this app. And now, as I develop this app, I do know what happened inside of it. So I'm going to skip a couple steps here, and we are going to try to break this app now. So I know that there is a conversation going on. I know that we have continued from that interrupt. Let's go in, and I have a README, and I have a handy little payload right here. Let's look at it really quickly. So we have these things. Remember that LC key? Cool. We have set it to 1. We have a type of secret, and we are asking for this Grinch API key. Now, if I showed you my .env file, you would see that API key is in there. It has like a silly little value in there. I'm not going to pull that file open because, again, my OpenAI API key is in there. I don't want you guys to have it. Cool. So let's actually run this and see what happens. And I promise we're going to run this again, but with a debugger this time. And we'll actually like dive in a little bit more. All right. So we are hitting that resume endpoint. We are asking for this payload, or we are hitting it with this payload. And if we look here, we see something really suspicious. That's an environment secret right there. So we have done it. We have replicated the issue. But that's not interesting enough. Let's actually rerun it using a debugger. And I put in some breakpoints, so you'll see them along here. And let's go back and rerun Hotspot. So let's generate a draft. Give it a couple seconds. Meanwhile, are there any questions so far about ClauseBot, beautiful design, how I came up with it, inspiration? All right, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, so there we go. We have our contracts. And now, just in case, I'm going to add in a clause. So what else should we make you guys do? Like, attendees must finish all the pizza. Cool. You see the breakpoints working. And actually, you can kind of see here what's going on when we actually hit the resume endpoint. Let me hide this. So I'm explicitly hitting the load function. And that is just imported straight from LangChain core. And if we look at the payload, we see attendees must finish all the pizza. Cool. So on the restored input, let's just see what the deserializer did. It was a string, it deserialized into a string. So that makes sense. Cool. We're just going to let this continue, and it's going to run the logic, and we should get back a clause. And once that's done, we'll run the payload again, the poison payload, and we'll dive into what happens. Okay. Oh, so now payload is an actual object. And if we hit continue, I hope I have the right. Awesome. So let's look at this one more time. We have this object right here with LC1, type of secret, and an ID for the environment variable that I want. Cool. And now if we look at this condition, we see LC equals 1 if the type is secret, and we have some ID, then we're going to break into this if condition. So let's actually just step over and see what happens here. Okay, cool. So we are in, and now we are going to pull out the API key that we're looking for, or sorry, the environment secret that we're looking for. And since we don't have this secrets map, it's not really important what that is right now. We are going to go into this else condition, and in here you're going to see something interesting. Secrets from environment and key in OS environment. So we are actually checking here for this defaulted value called secrets from environment. This allows this whole behavior that we were talking about. Remember, the hardening phase that LangChain introduced was that secrets from environment defaults to false, but beforehand, before the actual fix, this was defaulting to true. So that is what we see here. And if we step over, we'll actually see that we are going to straight up just return OS and environment key, which when we actually step out, this is what instantiates the objects. And I'm gonna hit continue on stored input, API key. Okay, cool. Any questions there? A lot just happened. We got an environment secret. All right, we'll let it go. And again, once it actually processes, we'll see that environment secret in our response. And now I would hope that it's not just always, like, I would hope that we're not just returning an agent state at all times with all of the information in it. But in this case, I just thought it'd be a lot more fun if we did that, because it is exposed to the browser and then you can see it in there. Yeah, okay, so that's how you replicate the issue. And again, if I were to upgrade libraries, just like literally just change the version and reinstall, it would solve this issue entirely. The serializer would never serialize the whole payload, so we would never actually see that object come back. We would just see a string of that object, which is fine. It wouldn't do anything. And in the deserializer, we would not be allowed to, by default, grab environment variables from the environment. All right, is that making sense to everyone? Yeah, go ahead.
David Smith, Focus Labs. I sit behind you upstairs.
Okay, yeah.
You may recognize me from up there.
Yeah, I recognize you. You look familiar.
If you were able to use OS environ, then does it make sense to make the assumption before this was patched, you could also use something like OS exec for remote code execution?
So that was actually like LangChain code. That was actually in the load.py. If we look at the source from this, like you can see here, it's from LangChain core. So that was not my code doing the OS.environment. That is just some behavior that was in there already in the library. My code here, like yes, I could do whatever I want in this code, but we're pretending here that I'm the attacker and not the developer.
Got it.
So as an attacker, you could get OS.environment to run and execute with your payload without having access to the backend code. Yeah, good question. Any other questions? Okay. So we've been doing a lot of red teaming. We've been talking about a lot of dictionaries. Now let's switch over to blue team and talk about how we detect this early and how we potentially even like prevent these type of issues in the future. All right, so I'm gonna come over here to LangSmith. And in LangSmith, I can just see all of my traces. This is every run of a clause bot. And if we just like look inside of one of these, this is the latest one. So let's just look in here. We can see the input. There's that API key again. Awesome. And we see the output is the contract, those clauses. Cool. And if you want to, you can like step into here. You can even change it to like a waterfall view of what went, like what happened in that run, how long everything took. We also can see like how long OpenAI took to run with our model. And if we look over here, there's something particular going on here. I have this feedback score. So you'll see that secure is 0 on this trace and 1 on some of these. So I bet you if I look in here, we're not going to see an API key. Okay, looks pretty clean. And oh, sorry. If we peek at this one, I am pretty sure we will see that API key. So what's going on there? So I made an online evaluator. And if we take a look here, I have the security checker. This is an LLM as judge. So basically on every trace, I'm sampling every trace. So on every single trace, we're going to run this check where a different LLM is going to check the input and output of my trace. And we're just going to double check that everything looks secure. There's no like API keys in there. And here's my whole system prompt for that LLM as judge. You kind of like, I'll leave it up for a minute. It's not doing anything crazy. There's just like a rubric that it goes through. And I do specifically call out like API keys. And I don't know, I think this is like a legit check that I would want to do as long as I can afford it, as long as I can afford the price of running this against every trace. Or maybe like I would sample it so that 10% of my traces get checked, not every single one. Any questions on the prompt on what an online evaluator is? Yeah, go ahead.
Why resort to LM as a judge? I mean, if you already have your API keys, you know what they are. Why not just do like a regular expression and say, if these
Yeah.
words ever show up, stop.
That's definitely a way to do it, and it's like probably more explicit that way. But I was pretending here that I don't know what I'm looking for. I don't know that like maybe API keys are one thing, but like, hey, maybe with your intelligence you can catch something else that went wrong. Since I can't see the future, I don't know what might happen. Yes, with perfect like hindsight, I know that hey, we should probably check for API keys. But that's a great idea. Like we could definitely do that for secrets that we know the shape of.
Would you do that right in this interface or is that separate?
You could definitely do that in this interface. I would make probably a different online evaluator to do that. For this one, I did want it to be an LLM as judge, and yeah, like you could put in, you could add to this rubric. Let's actually edit this really quickly. Oh, where is my edit button? Here it is. So here's what you're going to see. My sampling rate is 1. That means that 100% of my traces are going to be run against this. I am selecting GPT 5.2. And honestly, I would recommend that you select a different provider and a different model at the very least. This is a different model, but the same provider because I'm cheap and just have that API key and wanted to reuse it. So I did. And I'm hopefully not showing the API key here. I am not. Okay, cool. Good. All of the prompts also are version controlled, which is really nice. So I can always go back to different versions of this system prompt. And for the actual output of this online evaluator, you'll see I made the secure key and I gave it a little description. Just is this trace secure or is it not? And the response format is a Boolean, just true or false, 1 or 0. And that is that 1 or 0 that we were seeing on the feedback for each trace. Yeah, go ahead, John.
Yeah, so like back to the model question, like I know that NVIDIA's got a model that just does jailbreak detection and returns a true or false. You can do input screenings. Are there other models that are tuned for LLM as judge shaped problems?
That's a good question. I honestly don't know, but I'm sure that they are.
Yeah.
Or that they exist.
Because like the other thing is they're expensive, right? So you're looking to get the cheapest thing that can do the job.
Definitely.
Might be a much smaller model for the eval piece.
Yeah, that's a great point. And also, I am adding in the input and output here. Well, just know that I'm adding in the input and output, but you can like control what you send into this judge. You can really fine tune whatever you want out of here and like not just use up tokens like crazy. For this case, I didn't really care. I was like, let's send it everything and let it detect whatever it thinks is secure or not. I will click into this. I'm scared it's going to show you guys my key. Cool, it didn't. Nice. But yeah, it supports a ton of providers and of course all their models. So that's pretty cool. All right. Any other questions about online evals? Yeah.
My question is like, why do we implement this as an online large model evaluator? Because even though we know that this run is dangerous, the damage has been done. Why not we just inject it in the graph, maybe like with a structured output? If the trace is dangerous, we just reject it, so that we can prevent this from happening. And instead of we look at the run, and we know, oh, this is dangerous, but it has already happened.
Yeah, that's a great call out. I think realistically in production, that is a really good idea, and you would want to stop your graph from actually like executing and sending back data like that. In this example, I wanted just like a very broad security check. If we have a broad security check running, I don't know that I actually want to stop the user from using the app. Like it might be flagging incorrectly, and like for the price of this, like losing an API key like this, like yes, it would hurt, but we're going to get into, actually, that's like a great segue into not stopping execution, but getting an alert for something that might be happening, something weird that might be happening. And that is kind of the behavior that I would want in production. Like, I don't want to stop usage of my app. I probably want to let users like, play around with it. And if there is an attacker, I want to detect it, but like maybe not just unilaterally kill execution or anything. So I don't know, I'm conflicted on that one, but that is a really good idea. Like there's definitely something there that you should do. I'm gonna think on that one more, but that's a good idea.
We may have to update the joke about Bobby tables.
Yeah.
Full joke about you name your kid drop table and suddenly the school database crashes as soon as you enroll. We would of course need to update his name to like OpenAI key, right? And then
there we go.
LC1 stop returning.
Yeah. And last thing here, something cool you can do. You could just like mess around with your prompt and do a test run and just see what the output looks like. So if we look at this for this latest trace where like we do have this API key revealed, we do see that the result should be, I hope, secure equals false. And there's a little like comment and reason as to why. All right. And one more thing, let's just not save it. Your evaluator runs actually get logged here as traces also. So we can dive in here and look at what did the evaluator get, what did it output, and like why. So if you're curious and just looking at your like evaluator, why it's failing something, you can always dive in here and yeah, get a reason why. Okay. Next, okay, we caught that the error happened. We got an online evaluator to throw a flag, but I want more. I want to be alerted. So if you come over here to monitoring, you create an alert. We edit this alert. You'll see here, I set up a rule where when the average score for that secure key drops below 0.9 in the last 5 minutes, we do get an alert here in a webhook. And I hope this webhook is still alive. I just realized I didn't test it. But, oh, it is not alive anymore. Lovely, lovely. Well, you saw for a moment, there were objects in there that were like real. So if you actually, oh, here, let's just do it really quick. Let's grab this. Cool. Update this. Save. I'm actually going to send a test notification, save again. If this is still running, we should be able to just hit this. All right, so that should be updating in the background. We'll take a look at it later, but it is that simple. And the webhook, oh, actually, there's a test notification. With a webhook, we can hook this up to Discord or Slack super easily. So if I am a developer and it is Christmas morning and I get that alert that we are like something has been flagged as insecure, I can now go in and know that, hey, something is going wrong and I like should log in at least. And as that developer, what is the first thing I want to look at when I get into my LangSmith? I want all those traces that are flagged to be put somewhere for me so I can just go into them and look at what's going on. So with automation, you can send traces to an annotation queue. So again, I am that developer. I come in here and I'm just going to go straight to ClauseBot security review queue. Click in there. And you can see I've been running this demo a whole lot. I'm going to go to the latest one, though. It is sorted that way. And in here, again, I can look at my inputs, my outputs, see what's going on. And I see this API key is being revealed. That is not good. So I'm going to say, yeah, this is positive. As in, like, I agree with the bot. This was flagged as insecure, and yes, that is correct. I did make these options, so you'll see, like, I don't know, I just thought it would make sense to say positive, false positive, or anomaly. Like, I don't know why this is going wrong, but, like, it's actually okay. So we're going to mark it as positive and hit next. Now, if we go back to traces, and I made this on the default project. You should probably, like, name your projects whenever you're actually setting this up. But I was lazy and used default. If we come over here, you'll see that that trace now has this new feedback tag on it, that human security review status. Off of this, we could add automation to move this trace into a different annotation queue, to send a different alert out to other people, like let other people know that, hey, I flagged this as true. And there is actually something going on. I might need my whole team to wake up and actually get in here. It's pretty limitless what you could do with that. You can probably imagine some scenarios. And to actually get traces into those annotation queues, I mentioned automation. There is that automations tab. And if we click in here, this is where I am setting up a filter where for traces, where the feedback for secure is equal to 0, do something interesting. Okay, send it to an annotation queue. Yeah. Any questions on all of that? That was a lot in LangSmith. That was like a crash course on what you can do in LangSmith. Yeah, go ahead.
One question that I have is that seems like so this is of course a lot of the stuff that we're doing here is in the UI, and of course that's really important.
Yep.
Something I'm also curious about is if it is possible to create a lot of these like sort of tracings and annotations, or like even the actual um, agents with itself, like through other means other than the UI, like maybe an API or even like Terraform, for example.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I know there's a CLI, and I've used it to create like data sets and offline evaluations, which we'll kind of get into in a second. I have not tried to use them to create anything else, though. So that's a great question. I'm going to look into it right after, and I'll get back to you.
We do have like a SDK, like so the like SDK, because you know that like not everything is gonna want to be done in the UI, and so like we use LangSmith SDK quite a bit. And then when it comes to like tracing and threads, yeah, there's like an API if you use deployments that gets configured for you as well.
I think it's called LangChain fetch, is basically a thing that'll expose all kinds of data in here in a way that is particularly like text formatted for agents to process. So it's through the command line, but then it's also giving you these blobs of like little written reports, specifically to ingest into your coding helper of choice.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. And talking about offline evals, you saw online evals. These are running against traces, whatever you're sampling against. Offline evals, that's where like you really want to start collecting a sample of traces that went wrong in the past in production. And we call that like a golden data set, where you start collecting examples of traces where something is not to your liking. And then you run them against a Python script, offline evaluation, to actually test a specific case, to look for specific outputs that you expect. It lets you test a whole lot of behavior, like, is my agent using the right tools, given a certain prompt, given a certain response? Is my agent behaving in a way that I expect or don't expect? Kevin over here in the middle there, yeah, thank you. This guy is an expert on offline evals, so I would ask if you have questions about offline evals, hang out with him after this. Go talk to him. He knows a whole lot about that. And yeah, guys, this is ClawSpot. Thank you for coming with and hanging out. I did forget to actually look at the LangGraph code for ClawSpot, so I'm going to pull that up and let's talk about it for a second. I'm just going to look for add edge. That graph that we were looking at in PowerPoint earlier, it's actually built by this. This is a really simple graph, like I was saying, but if you remember that little picture, we had that draft, and draft went to review, and I just realized a little mistake here, but apply clauses also goes to review. From review, we should be able to go to apply clauses clearly. Since I'm using an interrupt and command there, it's not explicitly clear, but it is on the diagram. What else? I am using a checkpointer here. This is how we keep the thread alive, and basically allows for like a conversational approach where we can continue from a certain point, which is handy for that interrupt. And beyond that, it's just Fast API, and it's a very simple app. All right, any questions overall about ClawSpot, about LangSmith, LangChain, LangGraph? Yeah.
Is this automated evaluations, do they work when you're deploying in like render or something else, or is it only limited to LangSmith deployments?
Sorry, I didn't quite hear that.
So the verification and the checking that we're doing, is it only compatible with the LangSmith deployments, or is it like we can also do the same thing if we deploy our project on another like server?
Yeah, no, so online evaluations, you don't need deployments for. I actually am not using deployments here. This is running locally, but I could deploy this anywhere. And as long as I have my environment set up with my LangSmith API key, it will send traces over to LangSmith, and you can set up your online evals there. Yeah, what I guess to use like to connect it to LangGraph Studio, And to actually open up a trace in the studio, you would need to use deployments, I believe. And there's other like features that are locked behind like the paywall. But for basic online eval usage, no, you don't need it. Although you are capped at the amount of traces that you can gather. So, you know, there are definitely pros to paying for that. Yeah. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
What would you like the platform to do that maybe it can't do currently, the LangSmith platform?
Oh, I kind of wish that LangGraph Studio was like just built into LangSmith, if that makes sense. Or like tighter integration where like it was more apparent that I could go from one to the other. Because right now you like I don't actually know where that button lives. I know you can open a trace inside of LangGraph Studio. It'd be cool if that was like, I don't know, I'm not a designer, but like a tab or something that I could go to.
Can you go back to LangSmith?
Yeah, of course. Let's open up a trace.
Just bottom left. No. If you go all the way bottom left. I'm just showing like it is a tab in the bottom left.
Studio.
Yeah. And so this is where like
cool.
So for locally you would have to run something like LangGraph build to build the graph, and then it would connect to here. But if you're using deployments, then you're that graph is already compiled. That was not a pointed question at all, I promise.
Oh yeah. That is
No,
cool.
it wasn't.
It's like you do.
No, I'm genuinely curious. What about the product can be better?
Yeah, no, I'm actually really happy with LangSmith overall. Like with automations, that was already like that was my big ask. I think I just want to be able to like move traces around and put them in obvious spots for different people. This like I'm very interested in just if I have a product manager, I want them in LangSmith and I want them to see a specific view. I don't want them to be looking through traces. I don't want them to be looking through like automations and alerts. But I do want them to have a view where they can go in and see, here is what I like. This exact input and output is for you to look at. So I think annotation queues along with automations are just fantastic. So overall, yeah, I'm really happy with that. Any other questions about any of what we've talked about? All is fair game. Yeah.
For LangSmith, does it matter like where you're calling your model from? For example, like my company, it works exclusively with Bedrock. So all the LLMs you have to call from Bedrock. But over here, like when you have the LLM evaluator,
yeah,
I think it won't be able to connect to Bedrock. And how does it make that connection? Like where is it pulling the model from?
Yeah, here, if we actually look at this and we go to edit and we go to here and here, you can actually like look at what this looks like. Now, if you have a third-party provider for your like a short-lived token for your API keys, that is a feature that has been requested and LangChain is working on and should be, I think it's going to be deployed like in the next couple of weeks. So if you have this other API that provides short-lived tokens, you'll be able to call out to it, get that short-lived token, and put it into LangSmith to actually be able to use LLMs. Yeah, because I know like not every corporation wants to expose their one API key for a provider. I'm totally willing as an individual, but it's not totally secure to do it that way. So yeah, look forward to that. That should be coming really soon. Yeah, good question. Anyone else wondering anything, pondering about the inner workings of ClawSpot? Also, I need you guys to sign the contract that we came up with and then like actually start eating pizza. All right, cool. Well,
thank you, Emilio.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, let's give him a hand.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so feel free to stay, hang out, eat a pizza, and yeah, have a nice night.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
If you had feedback also, please take a look at these QR codes, play around with them, give LangChain some feedback, give us some feedback. And I just can't.